Millionaire forces Waitress to play piano, and she surprises everyone, leaving him speechless and in love. Before starting the story, drop a comment below. Which city are you watching from? Enjoy the story. Harry Montoya, a millionaire known for both his success and the coldness with which he treated those around him, hosted a grand gala at the most luxurious hotel in the city. While the guests mingled and toasted, Elisa, a young and reserved waitress, hurried between the tables. But something caught her attention. A grand piano in the corner of the room. And for a moment, she froze, lost in memories. Before her life was consumed by responsibilities, that had been her world. But now, as a single mother to a 5-year-old girl and the sole caregiver for her gravely ill mother, the piano was nothing more than a distant dream. From across the room, Harry observed everything with a critical eye. He noticed the young woman standing still, lost in thought. Such behavior was not tolerated at his events. "You there," he called, his firm voice cutting through the chatter around them. Elisa turned, startled, realizing that all eyes were now on her. "Yes, sir," she replied, striving to stay composed. Harry approached, his expression unreadable, his posture intimidating. He gestured toward the piano. The pianist didn't show. "You seem fascinated. Can you play?" Elisa's stomach churned. It had been years since she'd touched a piano, but Harry's piercing gaze demanded an answer. A little, sir," she replied hesitantly. Harry gave a cold smile. He didn't believe her, but saw an opportunity to amuse himself. "A little? Then prove it. Play. Here? Now?" Elisa stammered, glancing around nervously. "Yes, now." His tone was almost a challenge. "Consider this an opportunity." Murmurs rippled through the guests, eager to see what would unfold. Elisa knew she couldn't refuse. Taking a deep breath, she walked to the piano, her legs trembling with each step. As she sat on the bench, her mind raced. She knew this wasn't a gesture of kindness, it was an attempt to humiliate her. But something within her refused to back down entirely. Closing her eyes, she let her fingers touch the keys. The first note was hesitant, but it quickly grew stronger. It was a melody she knew well, filled with emotion and intensity. The once bustling room fell into a hushed silence. Elisa's fingers danced across the keys, and the music, long buried within her, erupted with unexpected power. Harry, who had started with a mocking smile, found his expression shifting. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected the waitress he'd underestimated to captivate the entire room with her music. As the final note faded, the silence was deafening. Elisa opened her eyes slowly, meeting a room full of stunned gazes. Some were moved, others incredulous. A hesitant clap broke the silence, followed by another, until the entire room erupted in a standing ovation. Elisa's heart raced, not with nervousness, but with something she hadn't felt in years. Pride. From across the room, Harry stood motionless, arms crossed, his expression inscrutable. "Interesting," he murmured to himself as the applause continued. The sound of clapping still echoed in Elisa's mind as she stepped away from the piano, her legs shaky. She wanted to disappear into the shadows, escaping the unwanted attention that moment had brought. But before she could move, a firm voice interrupted her thoughts. "Wait," Harry said, just steps away. His voice, low but authoritative, silenced the murmurs around them. Elisa turned slowly, her heart pounding. He approached with the same confident stride, his eyes fixed on her. Around them the guests whispered, curious about what would happen next. "Where did that talent come from?" he asked, studying her as if trying to solve a puzzle. I just learned when I was younger, sir," Elisa replied, avoiding his gaze. "And what happened? Why are you serving tables instead of performing on stage?" The question stirred something deep within her. It felt as though he was probing a wound she had worked hard to keep hidden. Elisa lifted her gaze, meeting Harry's cold eyes. "Life happened, sir," she said simply, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. Harry raised an eyebrow, surprised by her straightforward response. Few people dared to speak to him that way. Before he could reply, one of the gala organizers called him, pulling his attention away from Elisa. Taking advantage of the moment, she stepped back, ready to return to work. But before she could disappear, a firm hand grasped her arm. "Wait here," he said, and even without looking back, Elisa knew it wasn't a suggestion. She stood still, watching as he discussed something with the organizer. She couldn't understand why he seemed so interested in her music, but something about Harry's demeanor made it clear he wasn't the kind of man to leave things to chance. A few minutes later he returned, his eyes fixed on her. "I need a pianist for an important event in 2 days. I want you to play." "Sorry, sir, but I can't." Elisa began, surprised and already anticipating the complications this would bring. "Yes, you can. I'll take care of everything. You'll be there." His response was definitive, leaving no room for debate. Elisa felt a mix of indignation and nervousness. Who did he think he was to make such decisions for her? "Mr. Montoya, I have responsibilities. A daughter, a sick mother. I can't just—" "What if I said I could help with that?" Harry interrupted, his tone emotionless. "I can ensure your mother gets the best care and that you won't have to worry about anything while you perform." Elisa blinked, stunned by his proposal. Was he serious? "Why?" she asked, her voice quieter now. "Why would you do this for someone like me?" "Because I need results, miss, and you've shown me you have potential." He offered a small smile, but it lacked warmth. "Think of it as an investment." Elisa didn't know how to respond. Somehow, the offer felt more like a trap than a favor. Yet at the same time, she couldn't ignore the possibility of easing her daily burdens. "Can I have until tomorrow to decide?" she asked, trying to buy some time. Harry nodded slowly. "Until tomorrow. Don't be late." He walked away without saying another word, leaving Elisa with a storm of thoughts. That night, as she walked home through the quiet streets, Elisa felt the weight of Harry's proposal on her shoulders. When she reached the small apartment she shared with her mother and Sophia, she found her mother lying on the couch, coughing softly, while Sophia played with a sketchbook. "Mommy!" Sophia shouted, running to hug her. Elisa pulled her daughter into her arms, feeling a pang of guilt for not being able to spend more time with her. Life was hard, but she did her best to shield Sophia from realizing just how hard it was. "How was work?" her mother asked weakly. "Intense, as usual," Elisa replied, forcing a smile as she draped her coat over a chair. She sat beside her mother, holding her frail hand. The doctor had said the treatments were essential, but the costs were becoming increasingly difficult to manage. "I met someone today," Elisa began hesitantly. "He wants me to play piano at an event." Her mother's eyes widened, a glimmer of hope flickering in them. "Elisa, that's wonderful. You've always been so talented. But I'm not sure I should accept, Mom. This man, he doesn't seem like someone who does things without expecting something in return." "Sometimes opportunities come from where we least expect them, dear. Think about what this could mean for you, for Sophia." Elisa sighed, glancing at her daughter, who had fallen asleep on a small mattress in the corner of the room. She knew her mother was right. The next day, Elisa arrived at Harry's office, located on one of the top floors of a luxurious downtown building. He was seated behind a glass desk, reviewing documents, but he looked up as soon as she entered. "Have you made your decision?" he asked, bluntly. Elisa took a deep breath. "Yes, sir, I'll do it." Harry nodded, as if he'd already known her answer. "Good. I expect nothing less than perfection." His tone felt more like a command, and Elisa realized she was stepping into something far from simple. But for the first time in years, she felt there might be a chance to change her life. As Elisa left Harry's office, the weight of her decision settled on her. Her heart was still racing, and her mind wavered between the hope that this opportunity could ease her struggles and the fear that it might be another trap. As the elevator descended, she caught her reflection in the mirrored doors. Her eyes showed exhaustion, but also a spark of determination she hadn't felt in a long time. When she returned home that evening, she found her mother trying to put Sophia to sleep, a task that was always challenging. Elisa approached quietly, picking Sophia up and singing softly until the little girl's eyes finally closed. After laying her down on the mattress, her mother watched her with curiosity. "You accepted, didn't you?" her mother asked, her voice tired but full of interest. Elisa nodded. "Yes, he wants me to play in 2 days." "You'll do great, dear. Music has always been a part of you." Elisa wanted to believe, but the weight of responsibility felt overwhelming. After making sure her mother and Sophia were settled, she sat alone at the kitchen table. It was the only time of day she could think without interruptions. She needed to prepare. But after so much time away from the piano, did she still have the skill a performance like this demanded? The next day, Elisa went to the hotel to rehearse. Harry had arranged for a space to be reserved for her practice. When she arrived, she saw a grand piano in the empty hall. The place felt intimidating, but also offered the privacy she needed to focus. Sitting down at the bench, she let her fingers glide over the keys, as if trying to recall the sensation of playing regularly. The first melody that came to her mind was a classical piece she had learned as a teenager. The music started tentatively but gradually gained form. Each note brought back memories of who she had been before her life had changed so drastically. Midway through the piece, she heard footsteps behind her. She stopped immediately, turning to see Harry standing near the entrance, arms crossed, watching her. "Continue," he said, his tone more of a command than a request. Elisa hesitated but resumed playing, this time trying to ignore his presence. When she finished the piece, Harry walked closer, his eyes analyzing every detail. "That was acceptable, but I expect more from the performance. Don't play as if you're alone. Play as if you want to command the room." Elisa felt a mix of frustration and challenge at his words. Who was he to tell her how to play? Yet there was something in the way he spoke, as if he saw something in her that even she couldn't recognize. "I'll do my best, sir," she replied calmly. Harry gave a slight smile. "I expect you to." For the next 2 days, Elisa practiced whenever she could. She divided her time between caring for Sophia, helping her mother, and rehearsing at the hotel. Each time she sat at the piano, she felt like she was rediscovering something she had lost. But she also knew the pressure was building with every moment. On the morning of the event, her mother insisted that she rest a little before leaving. "You need to have a clear mind, Elisa. This is your moment." Elisa smiled, grateful for her mother's support. "Thank you, Mom. That means so much to me." She left home feeling a mix of nerves and anticipation. When she arrived at the hotel, she was taken to an improvised dressing room where an elegant dress had been left for her. It was a simple but sophisticated black gown, something she could never have afforded. She quickly put it on and looked in the mirror. For a moment, she barely recognized herself. When she was finally called to the hall, her legs felt unsteady. The room was packed. Elegant guests chatted and laughed, completely unaware of the internal battle she was facing. Harry was at the back of the room, talking with some investors. When their eyes met, he gave her a subtle nod, signaling that it was time to begin. Elisa walked to the piano under the curious gazes of the guests. She sat on the bench, closing her eyes for a moment to take a deep breath. Then, she placed her fingers on the keys and began to play. The music started softly, almost timidly, but soon grew in strength. Elisa felt the melody flow through her hands, each note filled with emotion. She played as if she were telling her story, as if each chord revealed parts of her soul. At first, the chatter in the room continued, but it gradually faded. The guests stopped to listen, some watching in admiration, others clearly surprised. Harry, on the other side of the room, stood still, his eyes fixed on her. When the final note faded, the silence was absolute. Elisa slowly opened her eyes, meeting the gaze of the audience. Then, a single applause broke the silence, followed by another, until the entire room erupted in a standing ovation. She stood there, frozen, as the sound of the applause washed over her. She had never felt so vulnerable, and yet so alive. Harry approached her slowly, stopping at her side. At first, he said nothing, simply looking into her eyes with an expression she couldn't decipher. "That was impressive, miss," he said in a low, almost gentle voice. "But I hope you realize this is only the beginning." Elisa didn't respond. She knew this moment marked the start of something new in her life, but she had no idea where it would lead. The sound of the applause still echoed in Elisa's mind as she left the hall that night. What had begun as an imposition had turned into a revealing experience. For the first time in years, she felt seen, as though her music had the power to express everything words never could. On her way back home, Elisa thought about Sophia and her mother. Maybe, just maybe, this could mark the beginning of something new for them. But what exactly did it mean? Elisa wasn't sure. When she arrived at their small apartment, she found her mother awake, waiting anxiously. "How did it go?" her mother asked, her voice filled with anticipation. Elisa placed her bag on the table and smiled, still trying to process everything that had happened. "It was unlike anything I've ever experienced, Mom. People liked it. I did it." Her mother held her hands, her eyes shining with emotion. "I knew you could do it. Music has always been a part of you. Don't let it slip away again, Elisa. It's not that simple, Elisa replied hesitantly. Harry doesn't seem like the type of person who does something without expecting something in return. He's complicated. Her mother frowned. Maybe he sees something in you that you don't see in yourself yet. Sometimes people surprise us. Elisa didn't reply. In her mind, Harry remained an enigma. He had put her in this unexpected position, but he was also the one who had opened the door. The next morning, Elisa went to the hotel to return the dress they had lent her. She didn't expect to see Harry, but there he was in the main hall, giving instructions to his staff. When he noticed her, he gestured for her to approach. "Mr. Montoya, I just came to return." "Keep the dress. Consider it a gift," he interrupted casually. "I can't accept this." "Accept it, Elisa. It's just a dress. Now, sit down." He motioned to a chair beside him. Elisa hesitated but complied. Harry looked at her directly, his eyes assessing. "You have talent, but something's missing. It's not just about technique, Elisa. Music needs something more." She stared at him, confused. "And what exactly is this something more?" Harry gave a small smile. "Passion. You played well last night, but it felt like you were holding back, like you were afraid of something." Elisa didn't know how to respond. He was right, but admitting it to him felt like giving him an upper hand. I just need more practice," she said, trying to avoid the subject. "No, you need more confidence," he countered bluntly. Before she could reply, Harry stood. "I want you to play again. In a week, there's another event. It's bigger, more important, and you'll be there." Elisa's eyes widened. "I don't know if I can do this." Harry shrugged. "You can. It's just a decision." With that, he walked away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Let's play a little game for those reading the comments. Type hot dog below. Only those who made it this far will get it. Now, let's continue the story. In the days that followed, Elisa threw herself into rehearsals. In the mornings, she cared for Sophia and her mother, ensuring everything was in order before heading to practice. Her mother constantly encouraged her, while Sophia watched curiously, sketching pianos and musical notes in her notebook. "Mommy, I want to see you play one day," Sophia said, holding one of her drawings. Elisa smiled and hugged her. "One day you will, my little one, I promise." At the hotel's hall, the rehearsals continued. Elisa was determined to do better this time. The music began to flow more naturally, and she felt like she was gradually reconnecting with the passion she had lost. Harry observed her occasionally, but never interfered. He seemed content to watch her progress, though he maintained his usual cold and distant demeanor. During one rehearsal, he finally approached. "It's better," he said, crossing his arms. "But I still want more." Elisa stopped playing and looked at him, frustrated. "More what, exactly? Do you want me to play with my eyes closed? Jump on the keys? What else do you want from me?" Harry stared at her, surprised by the outburst. A barely noticeable smile appeared on his lips. Finally, some emotion. "That's what I'm talking about. Use it," she huffed, irritated. "You're impossible." "And you're getting better at this," he shot back, turning and leaving before she could say anything else. Elisa sat there, staring at the piano, feeling her frustration boil over. But as she placed her hands back on the keys, she realized he was right. She played with more intensity, each note infused with emotion, and the difference was unmistakable. On the day of the event, the hall was more crowded than ever. Elisa felt her nerves mounting as the moment approached. She was in the dressing room, adjusting her dress, when there was a knock at the door. "Come in," she said, assuming it was an assistant. To her surprise, it was Harry. "Are you ready?" he asked, straight to the point. "I think so," she replied, trying to keep her composure. He looked at her for a moment as if trying to read her thoughts. "Remember, Elisa, you're here because you deserve to be. Now go and show them." His words were direct, but there was something in the way he spoke that felt almost kind. Elisa nodded, taking a deep breath before leaving the dressing room. As she entered the hall, the murmurs ceased. All eyes turned to her as she walked toward the piano. She sat down, closed her eyes for a moment, and then began to play. This time, there was no hesitation. Elisa played with all the intensity within her, each note telling her story of struggle, sacrifice, and love. The audience was completely silent, fully captivated by the music. When the last note faded, the room erupted into applause. Elisa opened her eyes, feeling a wave of relief and satisfaction. At the back of the room, Harry watched with a faint smile, looking pleased. After the performance, many guests approached to praise her. Elisa was exhausted but radiant. She felt like she was finally reclaiming something she had lost. As the hall began to empty, Harry approached her. "Congratulations, you're starting to understand." Elisa looked at him, still unsure of his true intentions, but this time she didn't feel intimidated. "Thank you, Mr. Montoya." He shook his head, almost smiling. "Call me Harry." After the event, Elisa reflected on everything that had happened. Harry had shown a more human side throughout the evening, and although he remained enigmatic, she started to realize there was more to his controlled and cold demeanor. He seemed genuinely invested in her music, but why? The next day, Elisa was at home, taking care of Sophia and her mother. Despite the success of the performance, her reality remained unchanged. Her mother's illness required constant care, and Sophia's mischievous smile was a constant reminder of her responsibility as a single mother. As she played on the floor with Sophia, the sound of the phone ringing pulled her from her thoughts. It was an assistant from the hotel. "Miss Elisa, Mr. Montoya has requested your presence at the hotel this afternoon. He wants to discuss something important." "Did he say what it's about?" Elisa asked, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "No, he only mentioned that it's a delicate and urgent matter." Elisa hung up the phone and sighed. Harry was never straightforward with his intentions, and it unsettled her. After ensuring her mother and Sophia were comfortable, she headed to the hotel, sensing that something significant was about to happen. When she arrived, she was led to Harry's office. He stood by the window, looking out as if analyzing the world below. As Elisa entered, he turned slowly, his expression neutral. "Thank you for coming." "You didn't leave me much of a choice, did you?" she replied, crossing her arms. A slight smile appeared on the corner of Harry's lips, but he quickly returned to his serious tone. "I want to talk about the future, Elisa." She frowned, puzzled. "My future?" "Yes, what do you want for yourself? I'm not talking about money or stability. I want to know what you truly desire." Elisa was taken aback by the question. It was something she rarely allowed herself to think about. Her life had always revolved around responsibilities and survival, but after a moment of reflection, she answered, "I want my music to be heard. I want my daughter to see that I fought for my dreams and that she can do the same." Harry nodded, seeming satisfied with her response. "That's good, and that's exactly why I want to help you achieve it." Elisa stared at him, suspicious. "Help me? Why?" "Because you have talent, Elisa, and because in some way you remind me of what it means to fight for something." Elisa felt the weight of his words. It was the first time Harry revealed something about himself. But before she could ask more, he continued, "I'm organizing a charity event for important investors, and I want you to be the star of the night." "A charity event? Why me?" Harry shrugged. "Because you have something others don't. Your music is authentic, and that's rare." Elisa hesitated. The offer was tempting but also intimidating. "What if I fail?" "Then fail, but at least you'll have tried." His words resonated deeply with her. For the first time, Elisa felt that someone believed in her potential, even if it was Harry Montoya, the most difficult man to decipher she had ever met. The days that followed were intense. Elisa threw herself into rehearsals with renewed determination. With each note, she felt she was rebuilding parts of herself that had been forgotten. During breaks, Harry often appeared to watch. He rarely commented, but his constant presence was strangely reassuring. One afternoon, as Elisa played a particularly challenging piece, Harry finally broke the silence. "Why did you stop playing, Elisa?" She paused, surprised by the question. "My life changed. I had to set it aside to take care of my family." Harry stared at her, his eyes filled with an intensity she couldn't quite understand. "You sacrifice everything for the people you love, don't you?" Elisa simply nodded. "Yes, it's what anyone would do." Harry looked away, as if reflecting on something. Not everyone would. Elisa sensed there was more behind his words, but chose not to press him. The day of the charity event finally arrived. Elisa wore an elegant navy blue dress, provided by the hotel. As she looked at herself in the mirror, she felt the anxiety building. This was the largest audience she had ever faced, and the weight of expectations was overwhelming. When she arrived at the venue, she was struck by the scale of the event. The bright lights and the lively chatter of the crowd made her nervous, but she took a deep breath and reminded herself of why she was there. Harry found her moments before she was to go on stage. He appeared calm, but his eyes held a subtle concern. "Are you ready?" Elisa nodded, though she didn't feel entirely confident. "I'll do my best." Harry placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture unexpected but comforting. "It doesn't have to be perfect. Just be yourself." Those words gave Elisa a surge of courage. When her name was announced, she walked to the piano under the watchful eyes of the audience. She began to play, and as always, the first notes were tentative. But as the music progressed, Elisa let herself be carried by the melody. Each chord was filled with emotion, as though she was sharing her story through the music. The hall fell into complete silence. Every person seemed captivated. When the final note echoed through the room, the audience erupted into applause, giving her a standing ovation. Elisa stood, overwhelmed with emotion. Her eyes found Harry's at the back of the room. He stood there, a faint smile on his face, as though he had always known she was capable of this. After the event, many guests approached to congratulate her. Elisa was exhausted but radiant. For the first time, she felt she was on a new path, one that music had opened for her. Harry appeared at the end of the night, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "It was a success," he said, handing her a glass. "Thanks to you," Elisa replied sincerely. "No, Elisa, thanks to you." They toasted, and for a moment, Elisa felt something had shifted between them. Harry Montoya wasn't just the distant, cold businessman she had imagined. There was more to him, something she was beginning to understand. Following the success of the charity event, Elisa felt as though she were living in a dream. For the first time in a long while, she saw real possibilities unfolding before her. Her music had touched people in ways she never thought possible, and deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, as she made breakfast for Sophia and prepared her mother's medications, a small smile played on her lips. The memory of the applause was still fresh in her mind, yet she knew her reality demanded she keep her feet firmly on the ground. "Mommy, I saw you playing in my dream," Sophia said as she ate her breakfast. Elisa knelt beside her, brushing her hair gently. "And what did you think, my love? You were so beautiful, and everyone was clapping. You're a music princess," the little girl said, her eyes sparkling. Elisa laughed, kissing her daughter's forehead. "I do it all for you, you know that?" At that moment, her mother entered the room, leaning on her cane. Despite her illness, her eyes glowed with pride. "You played beautifully, Elisa. Your music doesn't just move people, it inspires them. Don't forget that." Elisa smiled, but before she could respond, her phone rang. When she answered, Harry's familiar voice came through. "Good morning, Elisa. I need you to come to the hotel this afternoon. I want to discuss your next performance." "Next performance?" she asked, blinking in surprise. "Yes. Did you think this would end with one event? Get ready because we've only just begun." Before she could reply, he hung up. Elisa stared at the phone, confused and a bit nervous. Harry had a way of making everything feel like a mystery, and she never knew what to expect from him. That afternoon, Elisa arrived at the hotel, where Harry was waiting in the main hall. He was surrounded by a few members of his team, but dismissed them all as soon as she arrived. His serious demeanor sent a chill through her, but there was something different about him that day. He seemed more relaxed, almost human. "Sit down, Elisa. I wanted to discuss some ideas." She sat at the table, watching as he organized a few papers. Then he placed a contract in front of her. "This is an agreement for your participation in an annual event we host for our top investors. It's a big opportunity for you." Elisa flipped through the pages, confused. "A contract? Harry, I'm not sure I'm ready for something so formal." "You are ready. You just need to believe it," he replied, leaning forward. "Listen, I see potential in you, maybe more than you see in yourself. This contract is just the beginning." She looked at him hesitant. She knew the proposal was incredible, but it also scared her. Signing that contract meant diving headfirst into a world she barely knew. "This isn't just about music, is it?" she asked, meeting his gaze directly. Harry smiled, his eyes intense. "No, Elisa. It's about you, about what you can achieve, and honestly, about how your music can be so much bigger than you imagine." His words struck something deep inside her. For the first time, Elisa saw a vulnerable side of Harry, one that genuinely believed in her. After a few moments of silence, she picked up the pen and signed. "I won't let you down," she said, trying to sound confident. "I know you won't," he replied, standing and shaking her hand. In the days that followed, Harry became more directly involved in Elisa's rehearsals. He watched closely, offering precise comments on her technique and stage presence. At first, Elisa found his presence intimidating, but she soon realized he truly cared about her performance. "You need to stop overthinking," he said during one rehearsal. "Let the music flow. Play as if no one is listening." "Easy for you to say," she shot back, exasperated. "You're not the one in the spotlight," Harry smiled, crossing his arms. "You think I don't know pressure? Everything I do is under scrutiny, but you know what? I turn it into fuel. You should do the same." Elisa rolled her eyes, but deep down, she knew he was right. Gradually, she started to take his advice, and her music became more emotional and captivating. During their time together, something unexpected began to happen. Elisa started to see Harry in a new light. He wasn't just the stern businessman she had met, he was someone with his own demons and insecurities. To her surprise, Harry seemed to be changing as well. He became more considerate and less critical, as if Elisa's presence was influencing him as much as he was influencing her. One evening, after a long rehearsal, Harry invited her to dinner at the hotel restaurant. Elisa hesitated but accepted, thinking it might be an opportunity to better understand his intentions. As they dined, their conversation flowed surprisingly well. Harry shared stories of his childhood and how losing his parents at a young age forced him to grow up quickly and build his own empire. Elisa, in turn, talked about her struggles as a single mother and how music had been her only escape. "I admire your strength," Harry said suddenly, looking directly at her. "You've been through so much, yet you've never given up. It's inspiring." Elisa felt her cheeks flush. "I just do what needs to be done. There's no other choice." "There are always choices," he replied with a slight smile. "You just pick the hardest, but also the most rewarding path." In that moment, something shifted between them. The air felt lighter, and both realized a connection was forming, something neither of them had anticipated. As the weeks passed, Elisa's rehearsals became more intense. The hotel's annual gala was approaching, and she knew she had to deliver her best performance. However, her growing closeness to Harry became a distraction. Every glance, every casual conversation seemed to carry an emotional weight she didn't know how to handle. One day, as she practiced alone in the empty hall, Harry entered quietly and watched from a distance. When she finished, he approached, clapping softly. "That was amazing," he said as he walked closer. "But I still feel like something's missing." "What now?" she asked, exasperated. Harry smiled, stopping directly in front of her. "You're holding back your emotions. Let them out. Play as if you're telling me something you can't say with words." Elisa stared at him, feeling a lump in her throat. Harry was so close she could feel his breath. Something inside her urged her to trust him, but fear still held her back. "It's not that simple," she murmured. Harry placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze intense. "I know, but you're stronger than you think, Elisa." Before she could respond, Harry stepped away, as if realizing he had gotten too close. The tension in the air was palpable, but neither of them dared to break it. On the night of the annual event, Elisa was more nervous than ever. The hall was packed, and expectations were high. But as she placed her hands on the piano, she remembered Harry's words, "Play as if you're telling something you can't put into words." And that's exactly what she did. Each note, every chord was filled with emotion. Her music filled the hall, leaving everyone mesmerized. When she finished, the audience erupted into applause, but her eyes searched for just one person. Harry stood at the back of the room, smiling faintly. At that moment, Elisa knew something had changed between them forever. The night of the event had been a milestone for Elisa. The applause and the audience's approval still echoed in her mind, but what left her most unsettled was Harry's gaze at the end of her performance. It was a mix of admiration and something more, something she couldn't define but made her heart race. The next morning, while caring for her mother and preparing Sophia for school, her thoughts lingered on what had happened. Despite the intensity of the moment, her reality remained the same. The daily struggle to support her family and manage responsibilities that never seemed to lighten. Her mother, who had been watching Elisa closely, broke the silence. "You seem different, my dear." Elisa turned, surprised by the comment. "Different how?" "Lighter, as if something good is starting to happen in your life." Carmen smiled, but then grew serious. "I just hope you remember to take care of your heart. You deserve to be happy, but don't forget who you are." Elisa took her mother's hand, moved. She knew Carmen was right. Whatever was developing between her and Harry, there was still a vast divide between their worlds. Later at the hotel, Harry seemed more focused than usual. He discussed details of a new event with his team, but his attention kept drifting toward Elisa whenever she entered the room. It was as if her presence was a force he couldn't ignore. After a meeting, he called her into his office. "We need to talk," he said, closing the door behind her. "About what?" Elisa asked, sitting in a chair across from his large glass desk. Harry didn't respond immediately. He walked to the window, staring out at the cityscape. "About us." Elisa's heart raced. She wasn't prepared for this conversation, but something in his posture suggested he was struggling to find the right words too. "Us?" she asked, trying to maintain her composure. Harry turned to face her, his eyes filled with intensity. "Since the day you first played that piano, something changed. Not just how I see you, but how I see myself." He took a step closer. "You've made me question things I thought were settled in my life." Elisa blinked, stunned. She felt the same way but hadn't expected Harry to admit it so openly. "Harry, we live in completely different worlds. I have Sophia, my mother, and you have an empire to run." He smiled softly. "Maybe it's those different worlds that make us want to try. And as for Sophia and your mother, they're part of what draws me to you. Your strength, your dedication. I admire that more than you know." Elisa felt tears well up in her eyes, but before she could respond, Harry continued. "I'm not asking anything from you right now. I just want you to know how I feel." For a moment, silence hung between them. Finally, Elisa took a deep breath and replied, "I need time, Harry. There's so much at stake." He nodded, respecting her response. "Take all the time you need. I just want you to know I'm here." In the days that followed, their relationship grew closer. Harry remained the dedicated businessman, but always found ways to be near Elisa, whether watching her rehearsals or discreetly helping with her responsibilities. One day, he surprised her by showing up at her home with flowers for her mother and a small gift for Sophia. "I thought it would be polite to meet your family since I'm now part of your professional life," he said with a charming smile. Carmen was delighted by Harry's gesture, but studied him carefully, as if trying to understand his intentions. Sophia, on the other hand, adored the gift and quickly clung to Harry's leg, calling him "Mommy's friend." As they sat in a small living room drinking coffee, Carmen decided to speak. "You seem like an honorable man, Harry, but I want you to know my daughter has been through a lot. If your intentions aren't good, it's better for you to leave now." Elisa was horrified by her mother's bluntness, but Harry simply laughed, seemingly admiring her honesty. "I understand your concern, Mrs. Carmen. I assure you, my intentions are the best." After he left, Elisa approached her mother, still embarrassed. "Mom, why did you say that?" "Because you deserve someone who treats you like the incredible woman you are. I just wanted to make sure he knows that." Elisa sighed. She knew her mother only wanted to protect her. But part of her was starting to believe that Harry might truly be different. With the next big event at the hotel approaching, Harry suggested that Elisa compose something new for the occasion. At first, she hesitated, but soon realized this was an opportunity to showcase a new side of her talent. During the long hours of rehearsal, Harry often surprised her by bringing coffee or simply sitting beside her while she worked on her compositions. "What do you think of this?" she asked one day, playing a few notes of a melody she had been working on. Harry listened intently, his eyes never leaving her hands. "It's beautiful, but I feel like you're holding something back. What are you trying to hide, Elisa?" She stopped playing, startled by his insight. "Maybe I'm trying to protect something," she whispered. Harry leaned in, placing his hand over hers. "You don't have to protect yourself from me." The connection between them seemed to grow stronger each day, but Elisa still wrestled with her fears. There was so much at stake, and she knew opening her heart to Harry completely would be a huge risk. On the night of the event, Elisa stepped onto the stage to perform her new composition. The melody was a blend of hope and vulnerability, reflecting the emotions she had been experiencing in recent weeks. As she played, her eyes met Harry's at the back of the room. He was watching her with an intensity that made her heart race. In that moment, she knew she could no longer ignore what she felt. When she finished, the audience gave her a standing ovation, but all she could see was Harry walking toward her. He approached, took her hand, and led her to a quieter corner. "You were incredible," he said, looking straight into her eyes. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without your support," she replied, feeling her cheeks flush. Harry smiled, but his expression quickly turned serious. "I don't want to wait anymore, Elisa. I know you have doubts, but I need you to know that I'm here, ready to face anything with you." Elisa felt tears well up in her eyes, but this time they were tears of happiness. "I don't want to wait anymore either, Harry." Before she could say another word, he pulled her into a kiss. It was a moment full of emotion, as if all the barriers that had kept them apart finally dissolved. The days following the event and their first kiss were filled with a quiet euphoria. Elisa felt lighter, as if she had finally allowed herself to dream of something beyond her daily struggles. At the same time, she knew things wouldn't be simple. There was Sophia, her mother, and the lingering fear of losing herself in something that might not last. Harry, on the other hand, was determined to prove his intentions were genuine. He surprised Elisa with thoughtful gestures, like bringing flowers for Carmen, or arranging afternoons where Sophia could play in the hotel garden while Elisa rehearsed. He understood that to win Elisa's heart completely, he also had to win over the people she loved. One afternoon, as Elisa practiced alone in the empty hall, Harry entered silently and sat in the back. Elisa knew he was there but pretended not to notice, focusing on the melody she was working on. It was a new piece, filled with emotion, and every note seemed to tell a story words couldn't express. When she finished, Harry broke the silence with applause. "That was magnificent," he said, approaching her. "Every time you play, it's as if the world stops for a moment." Elisa smiled shyly. "Music is my way of saying what I can't put into words. I think it's always been like that." Harry stood beside her, gazing at the piano for a moment before turning to face her. "Then tell me through your music. How do you feel right now?" Elisa was speechless. Harry's intense gaze seemed to pierce through her, and she realized he was asking for more than just a melody. He wanted to know how she felt about him, something she was still struggling to express in words. After a moment of hesitation, she began to play. The melody was soft yet filled with emotion, and as it progressed, it became more intense, as if every note reflected her feelings. When she finished, Harry stood silently, his eyes glistening. "I think I understand," he said with a smile. As their relationship grew stronger, Harry became more involved in Elisa's life. He offered to help with her mother's medication and even suggested that Donna Carmen see a specialist, a treatment he insisted on paying for. Elisa hesitated at first, but Harry was persistent. "This isn't charity, Elisa. It's because I care about you and your family." Donna Carmen, however, accepted the help with gratitude, but not without a stern warning. "If you break my daughter's heart, Harry, I'll come after you myself." Harry laughed, but knew she wasn't joking. Elisa's young daughter, Sophia, also began to bond more with Harry. He often took her for walks around the hotel or played with her in the garden. During one of their hide-and-seek games, Sophia asked innocently, "Are you going to be my new daddy?" The question caught Harry off guard, but he answered sincerely, "That depends on your mommy, Sophia, but I'd love to be someone special in your life." Sophia smiled and hugged him, as if his response was all she needed. With the next major hotel event approaching, Elisa was more determined than ever to give her best performance. She knew this would be a pivotal moment, not just for her career, but also to prove to herself that she deserved everything she was achieving. Harry was with her every step of the way, encouraging her and helping her overcome her insecurities. "You're stronger than you think, Elisa. And you're not alone anymore," he told her one evening as he watched her rehearse. Those words stayed with Elisa. For the first time in years, she felt she had someone by her side, someone who believed in her and was willing to fight alongside her. On the night of the event, the hall was packed. Celebrities, business leaders, and music critics filled the audience, all eager to hear Elisa play. She was nervous but resolute. Before stepping onto the stage, Harry pulled her aside. "Remember, Elisa, play with your heart. It doesn't matter who's in the audience. This is about you and your music." She nodded, taking a deep breath as she approached the piano. When her hands touched the keys, the world around her faded away. The music flowed as never before, each note imbued with emotion and passion. The audience fell completely silent, mesmerized. When she finished, the reaction was immediate, a standing ovation that seemed endless. As the applause echoed through the hall, Elisa searched for Harry in the crowd. He was there, smiling proudly, a look that said more than any words could. After the event, Harry took Elisa to the hotel terrace, where a candlelit table awaited them. She was surprised but couldn't help smiling. "What's this?" she asked as he pulled out her chair. "Just a celebration. You deserve it." As they dined, Harry was straightforward. "Elisa, I want you to know that everything we're building together means a lot to me. And I'm not just talking about your career." She looked at him, her heart racing. "I feel the same, Harry. But I'm still scared. My life has been full of disappointments, and I don't know if I'm ready to give myself completely." Harry took her hand, his gaze steady. "I won't force anything, Elisa. I just want you to know I'm here, and I'm willing to wait as long as it takes." The silence that followed was filled with meaning. Elisa knew there was still a long road ahead, but at that moment, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, happiness with Harry was possible. In the days that followed, their relationship deepened. Harry became a part of Elisa's daily life, helping her with Sophia and Donna Carmen, and proving he was ready to take on a meaningful role in her world. Elisa, in turn, began to open up more, sharing her fears and hopes. They discovered that, despite their differences, they had much in common, especially a desire to build something real and lasting. One night, as they tucked Sophia into bed, Harry whispered to Elisa, "I feel like we've found something rare, something worth fighting for." Elisa smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "I feel that too." And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that love could truly be a possibility. The days following the grand event at the hotel were marked by a comforting calm. Elisa felt she had finally found a balance between her passion for music and her blossoming relationship with Harry. He seemed determined to prove he was by her side, not as a fleeting presence, but as someone ready to build a future together. One morning, as they sat together in Elisa's small kitchen having breakfast, Harry watched Donna Carmen closely. She sat in her armchair, sipping tea and flipping through an old magazine. "How are you feeling today, Donna Carmen?" he asked sincerely. She looked up, surprised by the question. "Better, thank God. These medications have helped a lot, and I know part of that is thanks to you, Harry." Harry smiled, but before he could respond, Carmen continued. "But don't get any illusions. If you hurt my daughter, no matter how wealthy you are, you'll have to deal with me." Elisa, who was washing dishes, let out a nervous laugh. "Mom, please." Harry, however, took the warning in stride. "I understand your concern, Donna Carmen, and I promise I'll never do anything to jeopardize Elisa's or Sophia's happiness." The sincerity in his voice reassured Carmen, though it didn't stop her from keeping her protective stance. Her daughter had been through enough, and she wouldn't allow her to go through that pain again. Later that day, Harry took Elisa and Sophia to a park. He had planned a picnic, complete with simple foods and plenty of space for Sophia to play freely. Elisa was touched by the effort Harry made to bond with her daughter, and Sophia seemed to grow more attached to him each day. As Sophia ran across the grass, Harry took the opportunity to speak privately with Elisa. "Elisa, I know it might seem like we're moving fast, but every day with you shows me that this is real. I want you to know that I'm thinking seriously about a future with you." Elisa, who had been watching Sophia play, turned to him, surprised. "A future? Are you talking about?" "Marriage, a family. I want all of that with you, Elisa." She was silent for a moment, processing his words. Her heart was torn between the joy of hearing what she had always dreamed of and the fear of repeating past mistakes. "Harry, this is a lot for me. I'm not saying I don't want it, but I need time to process everything. My life has always been a struggle, and trusting something this good, it's scary." Harry took her hand, his eyes steady on hers. I understand, and I'll wait as long as you need. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Elisa smiled, feeling a mix of relief and hope. In the weeks that followed, Harry continued to show his dedication. He helped Elisa with her rehearsals, played with Sophia, and even kept Donna Carmen company when Elisa had to be away for work or performances. Slowly, he became a part of their family's daily life. One evening, while Elisa was rehearsing at the hotel, Harry surprised her with an unexpected visit. He carried a small box in his hands and wore a slightly nervous smile. "What's this?" she asked curiously. "Just something I thought you deserved." He opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace with a musical note pendant. Elisa was speechless, moved by the gesture. "Harry, it's beautiful, but you didn't have to." "I did. This is just a symbol of what you mean to me. I want you to know that I'm here to support your dreams, just as you inspire me every day." Tears welled in Elisa's eyes as he placed the necklace around her neck. It was a simple moment, but one filled with meaning. As their relationship grew stronger, Elisa began receiving more invitations to perform at important events. Her reputation as a pianist was growing, and Harry made it a point to be by her side every step of the way. However, not everything was perfect. At one such event, during a dinner with hotel investors, a guest made a comment that left Elisa uncomfortable. "So, you're the pianist charming the city? How interesting, considering you come from such humble beginnings." The woman's tone was condescending, but before Elisa could respond, Harry stepped in. "Elisa doesn't just charm the city, she transforms every place she plays. Her talent is undeniable, regardless of where she comes from." Harry's response was firm, and Elisa felt protected. Still, comments like that reminded her of the differences between their worlds and deepened her insecurities. One night, as Elisa tucked Sophia into bed, she reflected on everything happening in her life. Her career was progressing, her relationship with Harry was growing, but she still felt afraid. Afraid that everything could be taken from her, as had happened so many times before. Once Sophia was asleep, she went to the living room, where Harry was sitting with a book. "Can we talk?" she asked. Harry set the book aside, concerned. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Elisa sat next to him, holding his hands. "Harry, I need to be honest with you. I'm scared. Scared of getting attached to all of this and ending up hurt. My life has never been easy, and trusting someone, especially someone like you, doesn't come naturally to me." Harry listened quietly, his eyes filled with understanding. "I know what we have isn't simple, Elisa, but I want you to know that I'm ready to face anything to be with you. No matter what happens, I'm by your side." His words brought a comfort Elisa hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe it might be possible to fully trust someone. In the days that followed, Harry began planning something special. He knew Elisa needed reassurance and wanted to show her that he was committed to their future. One afternoon, while walking in the park with Sophia, Harry suddenly stopped and knelt down. "Elisa, I know your life hasn't been easy, but I want to be a part of it, through the good and the bad. You've given me something I didn't know I needed. Purpose. Will you marry me?" Elisa was speechless. She looked at Sophia, who was watching with bright eyes, and then at Harry, whose gaze was filled with love and hope. "Yes," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I'll marry you." Harry stood and embraced her, while Sophia jumped around them in joy. That moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in Elisa's life. She knew there would still be challenges, but with Harry by her side, she felt ready to face anything. Elisa and Harry's engagement brought a new light to her life. Though she still carried heavy responsibilities like caring for Donna Carmen and Sophia, there was something different now. A sense of security. For the first time, she felt she wasn't alone. News of the engagement quickly spread among the hotel staff and Elisa's acquaintances. Marta, her closest coworker, was the first to hug her, tears of joy in her eyes. "I knew this would happen," Marta said, squeezing Elisa's hands. "Harry is crazy about you. You can see it in his eyes." Elisa smiled, though deep down there was still a trace of insecurity. She knew their love was strong, but the fear that everything might fall apart still lingered in her mind. Harry, on the other hand, spared no effort in proving his total commitment. He began planning the wedding, always consulting Elisa to ensure everything aligned with her wishes. I don't want anything extravagant, Harry, she said one day while they reviewed possible venues for the ceremony. Just something simple and meaningful. Then we'll do exactly that. Something that represents who we are, he replied, holding her hand. As the preparations moved forward, Harry grew even closer to Sophia and Donna Carmen. He made a point to include Sophia in everything, from park outings to choosing the dress she would wear at the wedding. "Mama, is Uncle Harry going to be my daddy now?" Sophia asked one night while Harry read her a bedtime story. Elisa stood in the doorway, listening. Harry smiled, set the book aside, and answered, "If you want me to be Sophia, I'd love to be your daddy." Sophia grinned widely and hugged him tightly, while Elisa watched with tears in her eyes. Despite the happiness surrounding them, not everything was smooth. Elisa continued to face challenges in her musical career. Although her talent was widely recognized, there were still critics and people who underestimated her, especially because of her humble background. Let's play a game for those reading the comments. Type Coca-Cola in the comments if you made it this far. Now let's get back to the story. At an event where she was performing for a group of investors, she overheard a comment that left her uncomfortable. "It's incredible how a simple waitress managed to come this far," a woman said sarcastically, unaware that Elisa could hear her. Elisa took a deep breath, determined not to let the comment shake her confidence. When she stepped onto the stage, she played with more emotion than ever, as if pouring her soul into every note. By the end, the applause was deafening, and the same woman who had made the condescending remark was the first to stand and clap. Harry watched from the audience, beaming with pride. After the event, he hugged her and whispered, "Never let anyone define who you are. You prove who you are every time you play." Elisa smiled, feeling empowered by his words. As the wedding day drew closer, family challenges persisted. Donna Carmen's health took a turn for the worse, and Elisa spent nights caring for her mother while juggling her rehearsals and work. One evening, as Harry helped Elisa prepare dinner, she confided in him. "Sometimes I feel like I can't handle it all. My mom, Sophia, my career, and now our wedding." Harry pulled her into a tight embrace. "Elisa, you don't have to do it all alone. I'm here. We're a team now." His words brought immediate comfort, and Elisa realized that, for the first time in a long time, she truly had someone she could rely on. The wedding day arrived with a mix of nerves and excitement. The ceremony was held in a small outdoor garden, surrounded by flowers and delicate lights. Only close friends and family were present, making the moment intimate and special. Sophia carried the rings, walking down the aisle with a radiant smile as the guests looked on with emotion. Elisa, dressed in a simple white gown, looked stunning as she walked toward the altar, where Harry waited with eyes full of love. When they exchanged vows, Harry held her hands and said, "Elisa, you've changed my life. You've taught me what it means to truly love, and I want to spend every day by your side, facing whatever challenges come our way." With her voice trembling, Elisa replied, "Harry, you've brought light into my life. Thank you for believing in me, for caring for me and my family. I promise to stand by you no matter what." After their "I do," the applause was warm and heartfelt, and the newlyweds shared a kiss that seemed to seal all their promises. The reception was filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt speeches. Marta, one of Elisa's bridesmaids, made sure to highlight Elisa's strength and resilience. "I've always known Elisa was special, but seeing her here today, so happy and fulfilled, is proof that she deserves every bit of joy she's found. And Harry, thank you for being the incredible partner she deserves." Elisa hugged Marta, grateful for her friendship and support over the years. In the months that followed, life began to settle into a comforting rhythm. Elisa continued her musical career, now with Harry's unwavering support. He was by her side for every significant moment, celebrating her achievements and helping her through challenges. Donna Carmen, though still facing health issues, was at peace knowing her daughter was in good hands. Sophia thrived with the love and attention Harry gave her, now officially calling him Dad. But the biggest surprise came when Elisa discovered she was pregnant. The news brought a new wave of happiness to the family. "Are you serious?" Harry asked, his smile stretching from ear to ear. Elisa nodded, laughing at his reaction. "Yes, we're having a baby." Harry hugged her tightly, overwhelmed with emotion and promised to be the best husband and father. The birth of their son, months later, was a moment of pure joy. A healthy baby boy, named Lucas in honor of Harry's father, brought the family even closer together. With Lucas's arrival, Elisa felt her life had finally come full circle. The first months after Lucas's birth were challenging but filled with happiness. Elisa found herself in a balance she never thought possible, between caring for the baby, giving Sophia the attention she needed, and continuing her career as a pianist. She had Harry's constant support. He was always there, sharing the household responsibilities and making sure she never felt alone. One evening, while nursing Lucas in the living room, Elisa watched Harry help Sophia with her homework. The scene was so ordinary, yet to her, it was a reflection of how much her life had changed. Harry was fully integrated into their family, and Sophia now called him Dad with ease. "Is everything okay over there?" Harry asked, noticing Elisa watching him. She smiled, shaking her head. "Everything is perfect." Despite the domestic harmony, Elisa continued to face challenges in her career. Her growing popularity as a pianist brought her to more prestigious events, but it also attracted unwanted attention. Some critics still doubted her authenticity, questioning whether she truly deserved the recognition she was receiving. One evening, during a charity event where she had been invited to perform, Elisa overheard murmurs from two men in the audience while adjusting her sheet music at the piano. "It's impressive how someone from such a low background can fool so many people. She must have a good team behind her." Their words cut like a knife, but instead of backing down, Elisa decided to channel that pain into strength. She sat at the piano and began to play an emotional and challenging piece. Every note seemed to carry her story, her struggles and her triumphs. When she finished, the audience erupted into thunderous applause, and even the men who had made the disparaging comments looked ashamed. After the event, Harry was waiting for her backstage with a bouquet of flowers. "You were incredible, as always," he said, pulling her into a hug. Elisa sighed, finally allowing herself to relax. "I needed to prove to myself that I could do this." "You've already proven it to the world, Elisa. Now you just need to believe it." As Elisa's career continued to soar, Harry also experienced changes in his life. After years of managing the hotel, he realized he wanted something more. Inspired by Elisa's passion for her music, he decided to start his own consulting firm to help small business owners. "I want to do something that makes a difference, just like you do with your music," he told her one night as they shared a glass of wine on the balcony. Elisa was surprised but proud. "I think it's wonderful, Harry. You've always supported me, and now it's your turn to follow your dreams." With Elisa's support, Harry launched the project, which quickly gained traction. His hands-on approach and extensive experience in the hospitality industry made him a sought-after consultant, soon attracting clients from across the state. Meanwhile, Sophia began experiencing her own milestones. At 5 years old, she showed a surprising interest in the piano. Elisa noticed how Sophia's small fingers tried to mimic the movements she saw during her mother's performances. "Do you want to learn to play, sweetheart?" Elisa asked one afternoon. Sophia nodded enthusiastically. "I want to play like you, Mommy." Elisa began teaching her simple lessons, patiently guiding her. They spent afternoons together at the piano, and Harry often joined in, singing or tapping along to the rhythm. These moments were special for the family. Elisa felt she was passing on not just her love of music, but a part of herself to her daughter. Despite the joys, challenges were never far away. Donna Carmen's health took another downturn, and Elisa had to dedicate more time to caring for her mother. Harry insisted on hiring a nurse to help, but Elisa initially resisted, worried about the cost. "It's not about the money, Elisa. It's about making sure you're not overwhelmed," he said firmly. After much discussion, she finally agreed. The nurse's presence brought immense relief to the family. Donna Carmen, for her part, seemed invigorated by the new addition to their household. "She's too good to be true," Carmen remarked one day while chatting with the nurse. "But I still think you should charge less." The nurse laughed, and Elisa shook her head, joining in the laughter. Over time, Elisa and Harry began planning a family trip, something they had always dreamed of but never had the chance to do. Harry suggested visiting a small coastal town where he used to spend vacations as a child. It has a beautiful beach. Sophia will love it, and so will you. It's a peaceful place, perfect for relaxing. Elisa loved the idea, and they scheduled the trip for the following month. During the vacation, the family grew even closer. Sophia played in the sand with Harry, while Elisa watched, holding Lucas in her arms. "It feels like a dream," she said as Harry sat beside her. "It's not a dream, it's our life," he replied, kissing her forehead. When they returned from the trip, Elisa felt rejuvenated. She decided to compose a new piece inspired by the moments they had shared on the beach. She spent hours at the piano, crafting a melody that was both gentle and deeply emotional. One evening, as she played the piece for Harry, he suggested, "You should perform this at your next concert. It's beautiful and unique, just like you." Elisa hesitated, but eventually agreed. The piece was an overwhelming success and marked the beginning of a new chapter in her career. She started composing more frequently, drawing from her emotions and life experiences to create music that resonated deeply with her audience. The months turned into years, and the family continued to grow in love and unity. Sophia began participating in small piano recitals, following in her mother's footsteps. Lucas, now 2 years old, showed a natural curiosity for music, eagerly banging on the piano keys with enthusiasm. Harry, meanwhile, expanded his company, becoming a respected name in his field. He and Elisa remained each other's strongest supporters, facing life's challenges together with love and respect. One evening, as the family gathered in the living room, Sophia made a request. "Mommy, can you play the beach song?" Elisa laughed, sitting at the piano. "Of course, sweetheart." As she played, Harry held Lucas in his arms while Sophia hummed softly along. It was a simple moment, yet filled with meaning. Elisa looked at Harry and felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you for showing me that I could be happy again." Harry smiled. "Thank you for letting me be part of this." And so, surrounded by her family, Elisa realized she had found something even more precious than the applause of an audience: the love and harmony of a home where every dream could come true. What did you think of Elisa and Harry's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories. And don't miss more heartwarming tales by clicking here on the end screen.